All right, welcome to episode 3.5 of the ForeRight podcast. We are taking three off the tee this time. We've actually recorded an episode with Tyler earlier in the week, but Jay, about three-quarters of the way through the podcast, pulled out the cable of his microphone and realized it wasn't plugged in. So here we go again. We'll have another crack. But thank you for joining us again, Tyler. You've just got back from the PGA Championship as you made your major debut as a caddy. Tell us about that experience and how you're feeling today.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience to be fair. I was actually a little bit skeptical before going over, but I'm extremely glad that I did. Um, and yeah, supporting a mate in Kazuma and watching him do his thing against the best guys in the world, and yeah, it was a pretty cool week. Um, Considering I don't really watch a whole lot of golf, but I was super excited once I did get there and enjoyed every bit of it. So it was awesome.
Just in my defence, it certainly was my mistake not plugging the microphone, and I looked at Scotty halfway through and I was like, oh no, and then the sound was terrible. But in actual fact, what a wonderful gift it's given us, because now we get Tyler post PGA, and it had all sorts of drama. There was people getting arrested and people holing out shots and making birdies and missing cuts and having scoring records. And I guess a lot of that isn't lost on you, hopefully, apart from the being arrested bit, but you can resonate with a lot of that stuff. Being a player yourself, so it's worth mentioning that you're a member of the Australian PGA Tour and a fledgling young professional yourself. What learnings did you take away from the week?
Yeah, there was a whole lot, to be fair. Well, I think I definitely at the start of the week underestimated just how good those guys are. Like I was walking around the practice round. I think it was probably a little bit harder to make a judgment call, not having my clubs and playing the course myself, but I kind of thought that the scoring would be somewhere in the vicinity of like 12, 13 under, and then you see Scheffler finishing out on the last at 21, and you're going, okay, yeah, these guys are something else. But yeah, no, it was definitely just sort of you watch certain people and they're like I saw a lot of stuff on the range. Like you watch certain people and they're super good in some areas, and you kind of go, wow. Even just for example, like I never knew Patrick Reed was as unbelievable chipper as he is until Kazuma was warming up next to him one day and just watching him like hit 10-meter chip shots that are nearly coming backwards, and he's like trying to hold them in the back of the hole, and I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, there was just a whole lot of certain things that I saw from different players, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is a whole different kettle of fish, I guess. But yeah.
So coming back, what's your plans now? Like if we talk about your golf for a minute, and we'll come back to Kazuma and the PGA. But let's talk about your plans. What does the rest of the year look like for you, and what is the last week? How's the last week going to shape that moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. Obviously, just got back through Q school and whatnot, so I've had a little bit of time off after that just to sort of decompress a little bit, I guess. And they haven't had too much time off, but I think that week at the PGA was awesome in terms of sort of a little bit of motivation, I guess, just watching those guys. And like there's certain areas that I know probably not too far off, but then there's definitely areas that need improvement over this sort of winter period. And so yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to grinding it out in some rank weather and just having some time to work on stuff. So yeah, the next few months is going to be pretty hard working, I'd say. Yeah, but I am looking forward to it.
So it becomes harder working, but what exactly changes in terms of your routine? So you saw Patrick Reed hitting those types of shots. Have you got the access to facilities to be able to really upskill in those areas? What did you notice some of the best players doing that you haven't been doing more specifically than probably just working harder? And have you got the access to the facilities to work on those things?
Well, I think in terms of course wise, I think I am in a pretty lucky position with where I am based up north, and some of the connections that I do have that I can use some of the better courses up north. And so yeah, I've got no real excuse in that sort of area, but it's more so the guys, they utilize parts of their team and they bring their team with them to events. I guess that's a luxury they have. But yeah, like a lot of those guys you see everyone, they'll have like a short game coach, they'll have their own physio, they'll have full-time caddy who knows their game in and out and all those kinds of things. And but yeah, like even psychologists, I mean, that's something that I really need to work into more, especially. But yeah, I mean, just it sort of has opened my eyes a little bit to the team that I need to have around me for my golf in order to carry on forward. And yeah, but it was definitely an eye opener for the week and definitely took some cool learnings. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't beat hard work, can you?
That's a fair call, and I want to come back to that. But before we go there, mate, tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your love of your favourite course in New Zealand, which is Ngahanupuri.
Royal.
Don't
forget the Royal.
Royal.
Yeah.
Tell us about what it was like playing there and actually what got you into golf, because I think that's a pretty unique story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was brought up in didn't really pick up a club until I was probably 9 or 10. I was too busy with other sports, being athletics and hockey. But yeah, I sort of got a set of clubs around about that 9 or 10 age, and then it's probably not a story Mum wants on the internet, but uh, but yeah, Mum and Dad pretty much said you can either go to after school care with the other kids and do who knows what, I don't even know what they do, or you can just go to golf until we get home from work. And took option B, and then just I guess fell in love with it. And I just remember, the first time my handicap dropped a little bit, and then from there it was just an addiction, I guess. And just every day was out there. My parents still do live right next to Naha Golf Club, so it's a pretty good facility to be able to go out and play a pretty quiet but yet good course and have it to yourself pretty much.
So it must have been a tough decision to take golf more seriously, because I understand you're a national record holder in one of the athletics events. Tell us about that.
Not record, but I did win a national title. That was in, I think it was year 11, year 10, I think. But yeah, I pretty much threw all my eggs into one basket and just said, well, I mean, I've got to pick one or the other. You can't really carry on with both forever. So, but I think the ultimate turning point for me was that I loved practicing golf. Like, I just absolutely loved it. I didn't love practicing athletics, so I was like, one of them's going to be easier to try and pursue a career, and if you absolutely love practicing, so I was kind of stuck with golf. And yeah.
It's a pretty good place to start. So that event was high jump. Do you remember the height that you jumped?
Yeah, it was high jump. I think it was somewhere in the range of 185 to 190 when I was 15 or 16. But
Wow.
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that now.
That's a pretty cool story, Tyler, and I'm not sure what I'm more surprised about, the fact that you made it to year 10 or that you hold a national title in high jump. Both of them remarkable in themselves. What do you reckon you could jump now?
Yes. I mean, put it this way, I've just got off a plane and went straight to the chiropractor this afternoon, so probably not really.
Yeah, that doesn't bode well. Mate, give us the inside oil or the scoop of what you know about Scheffler and how he ended up in the jail cell on that morning.
I mean, I don't know too much about the whole situation, but like I just remember me and Cax were sitting downstairs when it was raining, and neither of us had phone data when we were over there, because like I mean we had Wi-Fi when we were at the house and Wi-Fi at the course, so we didn't really need phone data. And we got near the course, Kazuma was first off, so we like left in plenty of time, and then we got nearer the course and the traffic just started building up and we didn't know what was going on. And then we sat there for probably over half an hour, and then I actually did pretty much what Scheffler did in the car, and I drove around, and then but I stopped next to a police officer and said, hey, this guy's like, first off, can we go straight through? And he's like, yeah, just drive down the other side of the road, be careful. But I guess that was probably the main difference. It sounds like Scotty just went straight through and then got thrown and the cells for his troubles. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I just remember sitting there with Cax, and then it said on the TV, Scotty Scheffler detained, and we were like, What is going on here?" Cax, we're in. We're gonna chance. But yeah, it was pretty hectic, and then yeah, word spread so quickly, and then I remember as well there was another thing. We were walking down to warm up, and we just got this guy who came up and he had a conversation with us, and he was asking about how we got in, and I told him the same story, and then he walked off, and I said to Cax, I was like, we probably shouldn't have said anything because I think that guy might have been a journalist. And then we went down, chipped, went back to the area, and came on, and this guy that we were talking to was on the ESPN channel, like literally just blaring out everything that we had just told him. And I was like, what have we done? I hope he didn't mention any funny accents or anything and like single us out. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably can't comment on it too much if I don't know everything that happened. But yeah, it was pretty hectic.
Yeah, you're muted. Come on.
Rookie mistake. My dog was barking outside, and I thought, "Oh, stop that." They probably thought you're Australian anyway, Tyler.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever got it right in America. To be fair, first go.
And
Tell us,
oh, sorry, go.
yeah, tell us about the event. So we obviously spoke to you and have tried this before, but it was before the event. So talk us through what that first day was like. Because did you have the afternoon tea time, I think, on the first day?
Yeah, we were first off in the afternoon. You also been talk about that round?
Yeah, well, tell us about the
Yeah.
whole experience from getting up. What did that morning look like into the course? Because Cax must have been nervous, but probably you as well.
Yeah, I wasn't so much nervous because I didn't have to hit any shots, but I was more so excited for him. Like I could feel it a little bit sort of jittery for him when we got to that first tee. But yeah, I think he definitely had a little bit of nervous energy, but I think it was good nervous energy. Like it was more excitement than anything. But yeah, I think he handled himself really well. Got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but that was to be expected, I guess. And I think through sort of 6 holes, he was still in a fine position. But he actually did play really well that first day, and then just sort of some of the putts that we're all used to seeing him drop every time he looks at them, just sort of were sort of just scooting over edges as opposed to going in. That was sort of what I reiterated to him at the end. I was like, you're only sort of one fairway hit more at the right time, and probably two of those sort of 15 footers that you normally hold from a really good score being one under, and then you're sort of on the cut line and looking in with a really good chance. But I mean, yeah, it's sort of hard to see that, and I know exactly what he was finding it hard to see that a little bit as well. But I know exactly what he was going through, being on the end of holding the clubs and having that sort of situation happen to you. It is hard to see it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I was really proud of him. How he held himself that first day. He played really well, and it was a good day.
As a player yourself, do you reflect and go, "That's interesting how I talk to Kazuma as a caddy and as a mate versus how you might talk to yourself in that situation?" You know, when I'm sure you're familiar. Well, I don't mean to say this. I'm sure you're familiar with missing cuts, but we've all missed cuts, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, and the language that you use on yourself versus someone else. Did that ever cross your mind, or has it now that I've brought it up?
Nah, I've always known, but I guess I'm just it's hard because you're always so much harder on yourself. It's easier to see when you're standing on the other side of the bag and not hitting clubs, because I guess you just have so much more. You have such high expectations. I mean, it's not really a good thing, but yeah, you always sort of have expectations in the back of your mind that you could have played better, and I don't think anyone's ever walked off the course going, "Oh, that couldn't have been any better." But because you always go back to I missed a putt here, I missed a putt there, and sort of the first thing you go to. But yeah, there was I'm definitely a lot more positive towards him than I am towards myself upon reflection of golf rounds. But yeah, it's something I'll definitely work towards in the future.
And you appeared with ex PGA champion Rich Bean, and he had Eric Anders Lang on the bag. And I mentioned to you just before that they made a video together and that he was caddying. And you've actually encountered Eric before. Was there any banter between you guys? Did he remember his time, or you, when he came and played up north?
He said he did, but I reckon he's completely full of shit. He's like, oh yeah, I thought you looked familiar, and I was like, yeah, you definitely have no idea. Because then he went on to say that it was 10 years ago, and I was like, Tarry hasn't even been open for 10 years. Um, but yeah, no, I did mention it to him, and yeah, we had a bit of a chat about that, and it was good. They were good value. Rich was a really nice guy, and so was Sebastian, our other playing partner. He was awesome. And, yeah, it was a good group, to be fair, and a little bit of there's quite a few shout outs going out towards, well, they're calling him Beamer on the way around, but yeah, he was pretty good with the crowd as well. He's quite engaging, but yeah, I think it was a good group for Cax as well. It was quite cool.
And is there
what
an
about the practice
opportunity?
round? Oh, sorry.
Is there an opportunity to learn much from him? Like, it was what, 20 odd years ago, 22 years ago that he won. He's not really competing anymore. Was there some cool stuff to pick up with him in the group?
Not so much, I think, for both me and Cax. Like, I mean, he would have won the PGA the year after Cax was born and 2 years after I was born. So, like, if they hadn't really, if you hadn't seen it in the media, I wouldn't have even known that he'd won it before. So yeah, but yeah, there wasn't too much, to be fair. And I mean, he didn't seem like he was taking the week ultra seriously, especially with having Eric on the bag. He's obviously a golfing personality, but yeah, they were definitely good playing partners to be with. And they were both up for a chat if you ever wanted it, and then it was good. But yeah.
So the practice round, mate, on Wednesday, you had a pretty cool group. That must have been pretty cool to watch those guys play. Tell us about that. Who they were.
Yeah. Well, Luke Mackey, guy from who you know quite well, I think, Jay. He sort of helped Kazuma out and trying to organise that group, and we ended up playing 9 holes with Morikawa, Minwoo Lee, and Kurt Kitayama. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, just watching those guys play for 9 holes, but I think that was sort of when it more so hit me about how good these guys are, especially watching Colin. He didn't score exceptionally well. I think they were playing a money game, but like his mishit irons, like sort of the one-handed shots that you sort of spin out of with, like, say, a 7-iron that miss the green right. His ones just seem to go to like 20 feet and pin high. That was some of the one where I was like, okay, yeah, like, I mean, he hit one into the 15th. I don't know how much of the coverage you guys watched, but that green was like, if you missed the green right, it was in the water, and he spun out of one and was like looking at the ground, and I was like, oh, that must be going in the water. And then I just watched it land like probably 18, 20 feet right pin high, and I was like, okay, so he's probably never hitting it in the water here. And it was literally green in water. But yeah, yeah, I don't think he really missed a shot for 9 holes, and I was like, yeah, he's probably going to be a good sniff this week. And sure enough, he was in contention, and yeah, but Min was a freakishly good ball striker as well, and he's obviously very long, which I quite enjoyed watching, because sort of the way I like to try and play golf anyway is just smash and gouge, and well, hopefully not too much gouge. But yeah, so that was cool. And then Kurt was just a little bit of both, I guess. He was pretty long and nice iron player, and all three of them just have ridiculously good short games. So yeah.
Minwoo's still a pretty impressive. I mean, he is long for sure, but he's also a pretty impressive striker, isn't he, in terms of control?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like I mean, I like to think that I'm long, but he's long and consistently straight. There's a big difference. Like, he's never. It's sort of the same. Like, I get the bit of a googly one that can go right and goes a little bit too far right, but his one is sort of 5 yards off the fairway, like his big spray can. So there's obviously there's another difference there. But yeah, it's just something that I've got to work towards, I guess. But yeah, it was seriously cool to watch, and I think Kazuma really enjoyed it as well.
And did you notice any off-course behaviours, mate? Like things I'm interested in is the work that players do with their caddies, with their yardage books, and the gym. How long are they there, pre-round, post-round, all that sort of stuff that maybe we don't get a sense of when we're just watching the coverage.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the pre-round was sort of what to expect. And I think when we played with those boys, I assumed that like they'd probably already done all their course prep, like they'd already filled out of the yardage book. So I think they were just more so there for like the sort of the Wednesday 9 holes, trying to get a few of the competitive juices flowing. So they played like a cash game, but um, didn't see a whole lot of guys actually going to the range after rounds. Like it would normally just be like a go, maybe get some feels, if just carry on something that's been going well, or just try and quickly get something that wasn't going so well back on track. But it wasn't like a big grind sesh after games, and yeah, like it looked like they'd more so done the prep before the tournament as opposed to trying to cram during it. But yeah,
And when I did speak to Mackie at one point, he said he'd just walked out of the gym, and in the gym was Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler. He said another name as well that was up the top of the leaderboard. Did you get a chance to have a look inside the gym, and did you notice that as well?
not so much. Me and Kazuma both we didn't use the gym at the course. We used the like public gym that they gave us access to, so we didn't really see too much of that side of things. But um, yeah, I definitely believe it if I saw it. Like they're obviously big into their sort of recovery and stuff like that, and it's obviously a major key that, I mean, I certainly don't look enough into it after rounds, but yeah,
You're about to, though, eh?
yep.
Was there a reason that you used the public gym over the one at the course?
Well, the public one, well, I mean, more so for my purpose anyway. I wasn't playing, so I could do a little bit more strength building stuff, but like those guys only needed very little because they obviously weren't going to go and just pump a whole lot of tin midway through a tournament. But and they probably can't go to a public gym without getting absolutely swarmed. So yeah, and we didn't have that problem. So
I've got a couple of questions on the Wednesday game. You mentioned it was a money game. Were there any whispers of how much they were playing for?
I think I think they were playing per birdie, and I don't think any of them actually made a birdie up until like 17 or something. So Colin pretty much hit it to 15 feet on every hole and missed everything, and then I think he finished birdie eagle. But yeah, I don't know. If I had to, I don't think it was too much. I think it was like $100 a birdie or something.
And you mentioned the 15th. I assume you played the back nine. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we talked about a couple of your favourite holes out there with 13 and 14, that little 1-2 stretch. 13 being, I guess, drivable, par 4, island green. You'll be happy to know that one guy actually drove it on in the fourth round if you didn't see it.
Yeah. I sent it to Jay. He was the only one that went for it all week and made 2.
Yeah, it hit it to like 10 feet and made 2. So I knew to be happy about that. Was there any talk? Did you have a little whisper to Minwoo and say, mate, is it worth a crack?
I definitely remember looking at it in that first practice round. I was like, that is way too tight. Like, you wouldn't go for it. You've probably got like a 10, 15 yard area to land it to be able to hit it on and keep it on. But yeah, I mean, I think the Italian fella that drove the green, like he wasn't a seriously long hitter, right? It must have just been, it was probably wind direction helped that. Like it must have been straight down or straight down off the right. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see it.
It probably helped that he was at the bottom too. Then didn't really make a difference unless he made eagle, which he obviously did.
Yeah. No, I'm glad someone did go for it though.
Yeah, nice.
Did you have it, Tyler? You know, sometimes when you play a course and then you go back and you watch it on TV And on TV, it looks so easy, and you're looking at a
Yeah.
shot going, holy, he's absolutely cooked there. But on TV, you think, man, that's a pretty simple shot. Did you find that?
Yeah, yeah. There's, I think, even it was Min who posted like some video of, I think in the second round he chipped in 3 times, and there was one shot, like two of the chip-ins were kind of basic, but there was one shot that I think he chipped in on 16, and I remember looking at it like where he was, and I was like, that is absolutely roasted, and he's managed to hole it. It was like a 40-yard like chip, and he's taken like a full swing off a downslope with an open face, and like just carried the bunker gently, and it's rolled in like a putt. And I was like, oh my god. But yeah, no, there definitely is that. Like you look at some of them, and you go like even just the small things that you can't see on TV, like the areas where all the players walk off the green, and especially those greens because they were green then rough. There was no fringe in a lot of them. And like the areas where all the players would be walking to the next tee, like that rough was so thick and long that if it was trampled towards you, it was absolutely gross to chip out of. So yeah, kind of had to like I remember I was factoring in some of those on some of the greens for the decade stuff we were doing. Like later in the week, this will be a 3 because it will all be trampled into you, and it'll be borderline impossible to get good contact. But yeah, there's definitely it's a lot harder on in person than it is on TV, that's for sure.
Yeah. And if you could time travel, mate, which, oh, Fion could, you possibly could, you're pretty quick. If you were, how old are you now?
24.
If you were to go back to the 19-year-old Tyler with the experiences that you've got now, from, like all your experiences, but also the last week, and as you said at the start of the podcast there, seeing those guys up close and personal, what would you say to your 19-year-old self?
I'd probably try and go and watch a tour event. Like I wish I had done it earlier, because Kazuma even had a good point. I think he said he spoke to his dad. Like he said there was something about playing in the Vic Open when he was 16, and he said, "Oh, these guys are playing a different game to me. Like I'll never be able to like compete against these guys." And then fast forward, 5 years, he wins the Aussie Tour to a merit. It's pretty much like that. But yeah, at the moment, it seems like it's so far away. But you never know what could happen in 5 years. But yeah, I wish I had been able to experience that before. Like I've already had that similar experience probably when I was 19 at New Zealand Open, going, these guys are stupidly good, and then being able to play in 2 of them myself. Obviously not very well, but yeah. But it is one of those weird things. But yeah, I guess there's so many things that I tell myself when I was 19, but I'm
Give me
still
your top
learning as
3.
well.
Yeah, and you'll always be learning, mate, especially you.
Um,
Top 3. You'd sit yourself down, you'd look yourself in the eye, and you'd go, listen here, young man.
I can tell you're enjoying this, Jimmy. Give me a minute to think about this. Probably one of them would probably have to be. I honestly, I feel like this is one I had to prep for. One of them would definitely have to be, don't be so hard on yourself, I reckon. Especially after this last week, watching how hard Kazuma is on himself, and I know how hard I've been on myself in the last few years. Had it longer. You can never be too long. You can never be too long, too strong. That's for sure. After seeing that rough, and just get stupidly good with your short game.
Nice. So the being hard on yourself, that's easier said than done. Like that's going to take practice, and you're going to have good people around you you've got to be able to accept that feedback from Rion and your other support staff when they say pull your head in. You've got to be able to accept that, and in many ways I think it's a good thing. I know, as you said, Kazuma's really hard on himself, but I also think that can be his biggest asset because it makes him work harder. It makes him search stuff out not unlike you. And then the other one, get longer. I like the second part of that, getting stronger rather than longer, because you're already long. And then the short game, I'd love to, that'll be our next conversation, which might not be in a podcast, but around what are you going to do to get your short game unbelievably good. But Scotty actually got your data at the New Zealand PGA. That's right, Scotty?
One shot. Yeah, we were set up on the first hole at Hastings Golf Club, and got one of you. I got everyone's tee shot just to see what sort of data there was out there, and you were easily the longest. I actually tried to look for it before the podcast, but I couldn't find it. But from memory, I think your club head speed was 126 with about 189 ball speed. What is your fastest that you've had recorded? And has there been any temptation to go into some long drive events?
I would be lying if I didn't say that I saw that TrackMan there and swung at that one a little harder. The ego got the better of me. I think my quickest ball recorded is probably like 195 or 196 ball speed. But that's with absolutely no direction on it. But no, I used to do a little bit of the long drive stuff, but I'm not too keen on it now. I also find if I do, like I have done a couple of long drive events, I find if I start overswinging, all my sequence can get out with all my clubs. So I don't do too much of it anymore. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think 195 is the quickest, and maybe like 132 club.
Yep.
And that's with normal length driver. So
what do you feel comfortable cruising at on course?
It sort of chops and changes, to be honest, with a whole lot of things. Weather, how you're feeling, depends how many weeks in a row you've been playing. But like on a fresh week, I probably on course would be probably 123, 124-ish, I'd say, 185-ish full speed. Yeah, but I'm sort of trying to get to a point where I can swing it quick, but even hit maybe potentially one down and left on it, and sort of get that low fade ball flight, because I feel like that's the easiest to control for me. And it pretty much works in most weather conditions. So.
Apart from me, mate, who's the best driver of the ball you've seen?
It's pretty hard to go past you, Jay.
Yeah, I thought so.
I was going to make a joke then, but...
Go on, you think you're funny? Have a crack.
I don't think I'm funny. I know I'm funny.
What was your joke?
Nah, I was going to say you're probably the best driver of a car I've seen. Best driver of the golf ball that I've seen... I mean, probably Minwoo would probably be, I mean, I only saw him for 9 holes, but from what I did see, you could kind of tell that not much is going wrong there. And I mean, from a strokes gain point of view, it'd probably be the easiest for him to gain because he's so long and hits it straight enough. Like he's always going to be past that sort of 300, 310 mark, and even if you are in the rough, you're probably still gaining shots at that length. So it would probably have to be him, I'd imagine.
It must make the game so much easier, eh? Like, imagine just being able to drop your ball 310 up the fairway every time.
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. I mean, it's a good asset to have, but yeah, you have to be able to control it at the same time. Yeah, comes and goes for me, that's for sure. It needs to stay a little bit longer.
On the first hole today, Victor Hovland and Bryson DeChambeau played together, and Hovland had 202 yards into the first hole, and Bryson had 160 yards, and it was like a 6-iron to a wedge. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, 40 yards is normally going to be 3 or 4 clubs, and just even how soft it's going to land it, especially that range, like 160 is probably going to be like a 9 with that heat, and that lands a lot softer than a 6-iron. So sort of a little, you can stop it around pins and over the bunker a little bit easier, access more pins.
But Hovland's not short, right?
Nah, It sort of depends. Like Hovland is a fader of the ball, isn't he? Yeah, he's sort of like yeah, really body rotation like fade. And then Bryson, I don't know what he hit, but a draw over that first hole would get a lot further down there than a fade because Hovland wouldn't be able to carry the trees on the left with a fade unless he's going over the very corner. But Bryson, if he's hitting a draw, would be able to get it more down the left and probably get a little bit more roll and a better angle. But
What did Kazuma have into one? I said two there because I think it was 200 and something.
Yeah. The first day he pumped one, I'm pretty sure, because that was our back nine. I remember he had 6-iron in, and then the second day it was raining and we had hybrid in. Wet face hybrid that went over the back.
Did you not clean it for him?
I tried.
And is caddying something that you think you could do? Not to put any, just if you remove your playing, you're going to be a player,
Yeah.
but if you think that is an option.
That is probably something I could do, I think, but my back was cooked after 1 week, so I definitely need to be stronger. I reckon I was probably the skinniest caddy that week.
That's twice now you've said you need to get stronger, man. There's a message here.
Yeah, but I don't want to get stronger for the purpose of caddying. But yeah, I mean, it is something that I mean, I enjoyed it, especially caddying for Cax because we're obviously good mates, and yeah, it's definitely a lot better than amateur caddying. That's for sure. But yeah.
So what's next for you, Tyler? Well, you're now back home in New Zealand. There's not a whole lot of golf coming up, I don't think. Is there any caddying on the cards in the next few months, or is it all just practicing and preparing? When's your next event?
It'll be a lot of practicing and preparing. Like I have said to Kazuma, I'm available if he needs me come July, but at the same time, I'm not going to be offended if he goes elsewhere because he probably does need to find a caddy before he starts on his DP adventure. But yeah, it's just going to be a lot of practice, it's going to be nice to get into a bit of a routine as well. Really hopefully see some gains over these months, and then I think my first event is August for the PNG Open, which will be glamorous, no doubt.
Have you been there before?
No, I saw you nearly go through that wall behind you there, Jay.
Yeah. Far out. Where do you go after that?
After that will be sort of the Aussie Tour swing starting in September. Well, I'll play the two Royal Charles Tour events down in the Bay of Plenty there, and then head over to Aussie for the start of Aussie Tour in October.
Does that start in Perth?
Perth, yeah. Kalgoorlie, and they haven't released the other event in Perth, but it'll be somewhere in Perth.
How hard is that grind, mate, on the Aussie Tour? Because you look at it from the outside and think, man, that must be wicked, just, travelling around Aussie, whatever country I guess you're playing in, but just travelling around, playing golf. What's it really like?
Yeah, it is pretty tough. I mean, it definitely, yeah. Everyone that I speak to is like, oh, it must be awesome. You just play golf every day and travel, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot more stress involved than just playing golf. Especially when you're sort of not on one of those main tours and you don't have the access to someone like a manager who can help you sort everything. Like you've got to do everything yourself. You got to do your taxes, you got to do your accommodation, you got to sort everything out probably 4 or 5 weeks in advance and sort everything like that out. And like, I mean, when I got my Aussie Tour card, I had no idea about getting an Aussie business number and stuff like that. It's just stuff that you don't really learn before going out on tour. And yeah, you learn as you go. I mean, I certainly did my first year, but Aussie Tour is a lot more luxurious than the Clutch Pro Tour that I was playing on in the UK last year. That is seriously mini tour stuff.
What does that mean, mate? What does it mean by seriously mini tour stuff? Give us insight, because again, it looks the same from the outside.
Seriously mini tour stuff is pretty much like I got a couple of good stories from the Clutch Pro. I got to the UK and bought myself a lovely little Honda Jazz. And drove that tournament to tournament with just rubbish filled in the back of it. pretty much living out of a car. And yeah, I mean, I reckon the funniest story out of all of that was me and Jimmy Hyde's going to Northern Ireland for a couple of events, and our flight got cancelled, and we were the last flight of the night. And they said, "Yeah, we can put you up in a hotel for the night." And then we searched up where it was, and it was like an hour and a half away. So we were like, "Oh, we might as well just sleep in the terminal." So we slept in the terminal overnight, and then got on the flight at 6 o'clock, and then got there, and it was the pro-am day, so we couldn't even play. And then just walked the course, and I think we just had a competition who could find the most golf balls, and then we mapped out the course and then got into it. And I think we both came top 25 that week. But
Nice.
yeah, it was sort of the adversity of a mini tour event.
Yeah.
Just one example, 1 week of meeting.
Good learning in that, though.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Scotty Scheffler shot 5 under with a 25-minute warm-up.
Yeah, in a jail cell.
And stretching in a jail cell.
Yeah.
Tyler, I am conscious that you probably feel like you've been up for 53 hours based on the fact that you arrived back from the States today. And I'm assuming Kazuma didn't flick you back in first class. So we'll start to do a bit of a wind-up here. And we have a little, I don't know, I was going to say fast 5, but I don't know where the 5 came from, Scotty. A few questions, quick fire.
Yep.
Don't overthink them. 3 players to play with, and you and 3 others to make up your 4-ball. What's your dream 4-ball?
In a tournament, or
Yeah, and you can't choose me or Scotty. No,
So,
dead or
like,
alive, and they don't have to be golfers.
so it's not like a tournament 4-ball.
Nah, it's just a hit it, nahana puri with your mates. A couple of beers afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, they're not your mates, hopefully, because hopefully you don't know them, but...
You'd have to throw Tiger in there, I think. And then I would probably I'd probably keep it close to home and go my old man. And I think just by the off chance she listens to this, I'd probably have to go with my missus.
Well, I'm sure if she is listening, she'll be thrilled that you referred to her as my missus.
My missus.
That's an
yeah.
absolute shocker,
Yeah,
Tyler.
I'll go so.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw a little extra in there.
You can't have an extra.
No, an extra. I'd have to go. Actually, no, I'd go.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Oh, Sarah might get
You're fielding a whole field.
keeping it there, but I was going to say Sarah can drive the drinks cart around with a chili bin on the back.
Oh wow! Now you put sexism into it. It's getting worse.
You'd probably enjoy that more than playing, actually.
Sarah, I've seen some of your golf on Instagram, and it looks outstanding. And in fact, I think she beat you the other
She
day.
beat him, I think. Yeah.
A lot of money too.
I noticed you haven't brought your brother up. Is that because he hits it better than you?
Yeah. No,
You'd
he
be
can
the
sit down in Christchurch.
Does Sarah hit it past you? Because if she does, you'd be the shortest in the group.
Yeah, shortest in the family.
Mm.
Um,
So who's your? I don't even know who you. I've lost track now. Who's in your
Yeah.
4?
I'll have to go Tiger, Dad. No, I'll throw my brother in there, and then Sarah's there with the drinks cart.
Oh my god! I hope
Still
Sarah
with
doesn't
it.
listen. Sarah, I'm so sorry.
Chili bin full of beers.
All right, Tyler. As a 3-man Ambrose, you, me, and Jay, do we win the PGA Championship that's just been played?
Oh, that's a goodie. That's a goodie. No.
What? It's like you didn't even think about that. Take a minute, man. Have a think about it.
No, too. Because I don't think Jay could get to the 14th, the par 3. So it'd have to be me or Scotty taking the shot there.
You're gonna pay for this. Don't be
I
worried
can
about
see
it.
Jay is boiling, eh? Jay's gonna take those headphones off. There's gonna be steam coming out.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd make it to the 14th. He'd be so angry at you for going at the 13th. Yeah,
Yeah.
off the green.
Yeah. I'd be trying to swim on the 13th because Jay's so pissed off with me that he's just throwing me in there because I've tried to go for the green.
If you had to win,
yeah.
or not if you had to, because lovely problem. What major would you want to win the most?
You'd probably have to go to the Masters, I think.
And I know that you've just been at the PGA, and it's an amazing tournament, and it's probably the best field in golf, but no one ever says the PGA.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I think everyone would either go, well, I mean, if you're from the US, you'd probably say US Open or Masters, but I think if you're from Europe, you'd say British, and then, but I think from the outside, the Masters is probably the coolest one.
If you could design a golf hole, what would it look like?
Be something similar. I touched on this, but yeah, it'd be something similar to the 16th at Te Aroha North. I think that's probably one of the coolest holes in golf.
So for those of us
For
who
those-
haven't had the privilege,
Yeah, explain. Jay just cut out. For those that haven't had the privilege to play Te Aroha North or Te Aroha South, what does that look like?
Well, I mean, you come in from not being able to, because you play through the forest and whatnot, and then you come up over the road and you get up onto this massive high cliff, and it's like a drivable par 4 straight downhill, and you're just looking out, and then the backdrop is just like the ocean and the hen and chicks behind, and yeah, it's just like a cool risk reward hole, and then the green is so funky. If you miss it in the wrong spot, you can be absolutely cooked. But yeah, I think if I were to design a hole, it would be a hole which would really sort of toss you whether to go for it or not. Like it's a 50-50, like a proper risk reward. Like you can serious chance at eagle, but you miss it in the wrong spot, you're probably making 5 in some funky way. But yeah.
And that's
it's funny,
16th hole.
'cause
What's your range of scores? Have you made a 2 there, and what's the highest score you've made?
I haven't made a 2. I think I have made a 5 going for it. I did make a 5 because I was having a cash game with Denzel, and that cost me a bit of money, I think. Especially with it being on 16. Yeah.
That's funny though, isn't it? Those short par 4s, the risk reward, they're often the best holes, and the dumbest holes are the par 5s where they're 3-shotters, and the second shot's kind of just another hit.
Yeah. There's nothing more annoying, I reckon, than like a 3-iron par 5. Like 3 iron shots, like an iron off the tee, like a 5-iron layup, and like a wedge onto the green.
What's the most birdies you've made in a row?
7. 7 in a row.
What did you say?
7.
Nice.
At Monaco before it shut. Remember, I think it was year 10. So right at the end of my schooling years, according to you, Jay.
Well, that was when that was back in the days of Ham Boys when you were playing first 15 with Quinta Pie, wasn't it?
No, I was not.
You used to tell us that all the time. You used to waste him. You used to smash him.
He didn't stand a chance, eh? No, he was in my PE class. I was no good at rugby, that's for sure. When I did play, I just stood and waited for the ball to come to me and then just put on the gas. But I don't think that works in today's rugby, does it?
No, not so much.
Yeah.
What's the favorite club in your bag?
I'd probably have to go my driver. Yeah. Yeah. Trusty.
Good choice.
What is it?
I've got a Titleist TSR 4. Yeah.
What shaft?
Ventus Black.
What shaft have you got on it?
Ventus Black 7X. Yeah.
Big dog.
That's what you
And
got yours,
my final question. Very similar, actually. Very similar. I'm going to give you a hiding next time I see you. My final question. What's the biggest number you've made on a hole in a tournament?
I have made a 10 at Springfield. Remember that? I'm trying to think if I've had higher. It was on a nothing hole at Springfield too. Like immediately the hole that you'd think of would be that par 5 with the houses on the right, but it wasn't even that one. I've definitely made a 10. I'm just trying to think if I've had higher. No, yeah, pretty sure 10 is the highest. It was on the, what hole was it? It's the par 5 before that one with the houses. The one where you gotta like snap hook it off the tee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck.
Yeah. Have you played there, Scott?
Yeah, once is enough.
Oh, wow. Hopefully no one at Springfield's listening. Jeez.
And last question for me, might be a big one, but we'll ask it anyway. If you get to the end of 2024, what would make it a successful year for you?
That's sort of what I'm like. I would love to, well, even not so much the end of 2024, but the end of next year's Aussie season. I'd love to win. But yeah, even just winning something significant because I haven't had a win as a pro yet. Yeah, I think that is probably my next step. I mean, I compete like I was in contention in a few events in the second half of that season. I think I started to figure it out a little bit more, but yeah, I think with some hard work over this winter period and then good play next season, I think yeah, it's probably the next step for me, and I think that would be a great success, as Borat would say. Is to win an event, yeah. So I think that's the next step.
Nice. Hey, thank you, Tyler. I really appreciate you making the effort twice to do this. So the first time I didn't plug the microphone in, and then the second time I seem to have had dodgy Wi-Fi. So I apologize. I hope you get some sleep.
Yeah.
And please don't let Sarah listen to this.
Yeah, I'll keep her off it.
Cheers, Tyler. Thanks, mate.
Alrighty.
Thanks, mate. Hooroo.